again.
All right, perfect. We are live. I'm going to start sharing the screen. All right, perfect. We are live. I'm going to start sharing the screen. Okay, and I need to mute the video. That's it. So can you hear me well? Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. So welcome to another session of the .NET User Group of Zurich. Today, it's about JetBrains Rider with Matthias Koch. But first, let's watch our promo video. And give a thanks to our sponsors, which are offering solutions, Vivival for texture, and also as well our usual locations when we could use a location, Impact Hub Zurich, Stanford Group, and our partners, Azure User Group of Zurich, Central.NET User Group Switzerland, and NetDay Switzerland, and of course, Swiss Angular. Thank you. Who are we? It's essentially Powell, Michael Stipe, Nigel Finlater, Laurent Bunion, Fabian Gosbring, Mark Muller, and me. What do we do? Well, we usually organize events from developers to developers, share knowledge, passion about technology, and excitement, and as well as adding some kind of networking. Usually we get beer and pizza, and sometimes we went for a beer after the event back in 2019, seems like ages now. And what can you do for us? We are asking you, if you are not already following us on Twitter, also join our LinkedIn group that we are promoting is .NET Zurich in this case, or join and share our meetup group with your peers, meetup.com/.NET Zurich. Tell your peers, help us grow, and propose content and speakers on Sessionize, which is sessionize.com/.NET Zurich, this case altogether. You can find us at .NET-Zurich.ca, and if you want to put or tweet something, you can tag us with .NET Zurich as well. Today, it's about Matthias Koch, a funny person, great speaker that we have here. Thanks, Matthias, for being with us today. He's a JetBrains developer advocate. He's a person that can do amazing talks, and today he's going to talk about JetBrains Rider. Apart from that, I cannot introduce Matthias without mentioning his private project, which is Nuke. Thanks to Nuke, we have built as code, and that's not a product, that's an open source project. So double thanks, Matthias, for that. That said, Matthias, stage is yours.
Well, thanks for the introduction. Let me also share my screen. Wait, takes a moment. Okay, share. Should be the right one. And I think you should see something.
We do.
Yeah? Okay, great. So just give me one moment to set everything up, but I think I'm good. So yeah. Oh, actually, you know, I actually forgot. I usually have a slide to talk about Rider. Maybe I will do that. Okay, give me one moment. Okay, let's bring this here. My super fast MacBook, which it's not. Okay. But yeah, I totally forgot about that. So yeah, I have a couple of slides, and welcome also from my side. And yeah, I will just, very casually talk a bit about JetBrains Rider. Whenever you have questions, please feel free to ask. You can unmute yourself or write something in the chat. I will try to keep that in sight. I saw Stefan is also there. Man, you make me nervous because I have the feeling I have to say some new things. But yeah, anyway, this is
Should I kick him out, Matthias?
No. He's very fine.
I know, but just wanted to make a bit of fun. Just mentioning, we have a Slido here. So if better than the chat, use the Slido. You can even upvote or downvote the questions as an attendee. So yeah, please use the Slido, and I will put the questions as they appear, or also, as Matthias said, just mute yourself, put your video on, and say your question.
Yeah, works for me. And also, Stefan, for you, the offer, if you ever want to get to know something new, we can also do a private meeting. I'm totally up for that. Okay.
One thing, after this meeting ends and the streaming finishes, we will have a small pause, and then we will keep on without recording anything. So Stefan, you're very invited to stay.
Okay, so let's invite everyone else too now. Okay, so this was actually even before my time when I joined JetBrains. It was one of the first drafts for something that many people asked us, or not me at that time, but still I think you get the idea. When do we come with a separate .NET IDE? Because ReSharper was basically just a plugin to Visual Studio, an extension, and that also comes with, let's put it this way, limitations, right? Because it's not fully under our control. But yeah, this was one of the first drafts back when .NET Core was not even a thing, and afterwards, of course, we continued the at least the idea that this could at some point be something. And when I say that, I mean that just naturally you try to keep separation between concerns. What is really UI front end, what has to integrate with Visual Studio, but we try to keep a certain part of ReSharper decoupled, of course. And then .NET Core came, and we had the big question, or it wasn't that big actually, but the question was in the room, when we design a cross-platform IDE to support cross-platform .NET development, how do we lay out the architecture? And speaking of architecture, of course, ReSharper was the host in the background, could still be used as host in the background. Majority or all of that code is written in C#. No, not completely in C#. I think there are some Visual Basic.NET dog food parts as well. But yeah, the majority is just written in C#. All of it is written with .NET. And ReSharper host could run on .NET Framework or Mono at some point also in the past. Nowadays it runs on Core. And for the front end, what we did was using IntelliJ as a platform, which is also a product that we create. I'm sure many of you will know IntelliJ for Java or Kotlin development. There are some derivates, let's say, which are all based also on that platform, which is basically our whole lineup of IDEs, PyCharm, WebStorm, RubyMine, PHP Storm, countless. I cannot really say one more per day, but there's a lot. For all the major languages, you will find something. And these two, I mean, the architecture is pretty interesting, I guess, from my point of view, because one part is running on the JVM, the other part is running .NET. And these two now have to communicate with each other, to share state, to share what's happening, to share what should happen, etc. And let me just also enable do not disturb. So for that protocol, we used Kotlin, which is our own language, more or less on top of Java, let's say, with some really cool language features. Actually, if you write both C# and Kotlin, well, at least occasionally, you will also see some interesting commonalities, and you also have quite a much better idea when people ask you what language feature are you missing, because you can always take one of these to say, okay, this is missing. But yeah, besides that, this works highly, this architecture is highly interprocedural. Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm not exactly sure. No, I dropped the diagram. When I say highly interprocedural, what I mean is also that it's not just front and back end, which are decoupled in that way, but it's also, for instance, the debugger, which is running in a separate process, or it's for folks which are who are doing Unity development. This also lives in a separate process. Similarly, also everyone who's using Rider on Windows will have a WPF preview that also runs in a separate process. So, and this separation of concerns with leaving the UI only for the IntelliJ platform is also highly beneficial to, let's say, reduce the likelihood that your IDE stops. I mean, like for garbage collection, for instance, in .NET, when garbage collection is triggered, the whole world stands basically there, and you can do nothing. You can have as many threads as you want, but separating these from each other on a process level will give you that benefit that the front end will likely be more responsive. Okay, yeah, I partly talked about this already. We've been asked quite a lot actually about, especially at the beginning, how much is new, or are we even writing our whole ReSharper engine in Java or something? No, that's not the case. There's a very high percentage of code reuse. Of course, not everything can be reused, like for instance UI components when they're based on WPF or Windows Forms. But also at the, I'm not quite sure, but I can tell you ReSharper has comes with TypeScript and JavaScript support. Now for Rider, we actually had the choice, which one do we want to use? Because on the other side, from the IntelliJ platform, we could also use WebStorm for web front-end support. And that's actually what we also used. But yeah, bottom line here is there's a very high amount of shared code. And also that one I forgot, and that's also still a frequent question that we get is, does Rider come with its own format for solution files, for instance? No, it doesn't have its own, so it will just naturally use the solution file that is already present, and that also makes it possible that in a team you can people can use both, whatever they prefer. They can be using Visual Studio, Rider, or VS for Mac or VS Code. So totally up to you. The other teammates wouldn't notice that you're using something else. So this architecture comes also with a great benefit, and this makes me smile like every time actually, because by using this front end, we also gain a lot of features just for nothing, basically, or for free. Let's say for nothing is maybe the wrong term here. For free, because with every release of IntelliJ, there's something new added from the team over there, and we just basically have it. We just need to stand still, or basically we need to merge their branches from the product into the Rider product branch, main branch, and then build from there, and then we just have all the features that come with it. But we also inherit all the several existing features that were already there before making Rider, which include, for instance, VCS integration, which I'm a big fan of. Command line integration is far more than just a terminal. Then the usual suspects, bookmarks, custom themes. I always stick with the default actually, and I just have it configured that it switches based on system settings. But also great search, scratch files, which can help you to write HTTP requests or something like an integrated postman, let's say. Integrated comparison tools, and not to forget this number is probably way higher nowadays, but there's a large ecosystem of plugins that you can use. Partly plugins that are technology agnostic, let's say. And by that, I mean particularly agnostic against .NET. Yeah, for instance, what people always ask me is how I got my progress bars replaced with nyan-cat. So that's of course very essential. But yeah, also many others which are really dependent on C# as a language. And with that, I would say let's show some stuff inside Rider. So I actually, what I have to do is probably switch a bit between different solutions here. Give me one moment. So one thing I want to show you, and this is really the only thing I want to show you over here, is what we have for our current release, which is very upcoming. In a couple of weeks, is a completely redesigned toolbar over here. So this is one thing I really love, I have to say. The design meetings around that started some time before already. We also published this in our roadmap, but it's finally there, let's say, at least in the current. I hope it will also be included, but I'm pretty sure. It's always difficult to know the latest state on things. But what you have here is, okay, Solution Explorer is very, very self-explanatory, but then otherwise just the basic navigation features like back and forth. This is part of the VCS integration here. So you have your branches shown, you have the most common options to pull, push, and commit, of course. Also, this has, we will later see in another example, great support for, or maybe, I'm not sure. There's a lot to show, but maybe we'll take a look at submodules also. Then this is currently still bugged, but yeah, should open here. You can also access many others, like to annotate. So annotate is basically like git blame, show the history, show local history. I will take a brief look at that. And otherwise, just here we have some, this is the main entry for searching. Yeah, my screen is a bit very small, and now I can't move this window. This is, okay, usually I should move this to the, now here. Okay. Real estate issues, as always, with presentations. But yeah, this is basically our main search entry point. And then simple stuff like compiling solutions or executing projects from here with different run configurations. Okay, there's actually a lot. I can just remove them. But yeah, this is just to give you a quick preview. Also for those, I'm sure some of you may also be using Rider already. So this is just some info for those folks as well. But yeah, otherwise we will mostly start fresh. So I will try to explain you. So here's the old toolbar. That's just why I said it. But we will start a bit more fresh, and also how you approach Rider. One thing I want to do is, and I always do this so that we have better screenshots, or let's say consistent screenshots, but usually 15 is my font size here. And yeah, let's start. So the first thing about, as a developer for any new IDE or just in general when you're using your IDE is, I guess, people want to be productive. The most important thing, or one part at least, about being productive is also using shortcuts. So not to go there and, you know, browsing through different menu items here, searching through those long lists of actions that you can use. So in Rider, what you can do is just hit double shift. Yeah, that's the entry point to the search everywhere pop-up, from which you can search for basically anything. Not just so first, of course, we have selected all, so this will search for all tabs that we have afterwards. But we can also search, of course, for specific classes, files, symbols, or actions. So action is a good point actually, because from here we can do things like, let me think. I should at least go to some class maybe. Let's go to the car class. So for instance, from here, when we double shift and go back here, you actually don't need to, but we can, for instance, look for the derived type, or actually, yeah, now it's a bit lower here. Sorry. So here, derived symbols, and you can already see that this has a shortcut assigned. Now, I'm on a MacBook, that's why these look a bit cryptic. I'll be honest, I also never know what these shortcuts actually mean, so I have to try them manually. But besides that, also because this is a thing that very frequently happens for me. I have some context, like I have my caret on a method or type or whatever, and from there I want to execute some action. Like derived symbols is one that comes more naturally. But sometimes, you know, for specific cases, I want to see the type hierarchy, for instance. For that, I don't remember the shortcuts, so this is why this search everywhere comes in pretty handy, and you can just search for that thing that you're looking for. And this is actually also quite discoverable. So, for instance, if we let's go to iVehicle, for instance. So from here, you might say, okay, from this iVehicle, I'm interested in extension methods. Then you can do this. This is a navigation action and will show you all the extension methods, like here, for instance. The same can be done with, I think it's did I lose track? No. I think it's exposing APIs, for instance, for any method that exposes this type and stuff like that. Yeah. So you can search for all these actions. Now, historically, there's also another shortcut which is quite essential, which is Alt-Enter. So if you've ever used ReSharper before, Alt-Enter, we even printed shirts with Alt-Enter. Yeah. So with Alt-Enter, you can do somewhat the similar thing, but you have a bit of different options. So first of all, usually you will see all the common context actions, how you can modify your code at the very top. You may also have included certain navigation actions or inspections, even, as we will later see. But you also always have these four here, at least in most cases, whenever they make sense, from where you can invoke all from where you can discover the navigation, refactoring, inspection, and generation features. So when you don't know what kind of navigation features there are, for instance, then you can just click here, or actually I should use my keyboard, but you can go there, and from here you have all the different options that you can think of. So, for instance, also related files, or go to implementation and stuff like that. You know, reference code. You can even go. So, for instance, if we are on integer, so navigate again. Then from here you will also see decompiled sources, and you actually also see, this is very important, in any pop-up, or at least I know very few. So there's a 0.1% chance that you get one of the pop-ups that isn't searchable. But for most of the pop-ups, you can just start typing. And this is very fast. I mean, you invoke something, you get several options to choose from. You further filter the results, and you find what you want to find much quicker. One thing about the actions, what I want to go back, that one I forgot, is also whenever you learn that a certain action you use more frequently, the best thing and fastest thing or fastest way to do this is just by hitting Alt-Enter again. So here again, it's a bit cryptic, but from here we could say, okay, exposing APIs, I want to assign a shortcut for that and be done. Yeah, very, very convenient and quick to adapt to your workflow, basically. Yeah, for navigation and just still coming from this search everywhere window here, like I said, we can search for files and classes. What's particularly good to know is that you can also use initial letter search, and this is always difficult for me, showing something in the code base that I haven't worked in for some time. But let's say vehicle integration tests, for instance. If you're very familiar with your code base, of course these things come more natural. But yeah, the point here is you can just type all the initial letters to actually go to that type. And you can even continue, and okay, with that it doesn't work. But let's say object extensions, I think, has a move method. No, object extensions has a not null method. So you can even further complete and use dot and then complete to a method, for instance, and then just specifically go there. There are also some ways how you can, for files, that you can include line numbers. I forgot how this works actually. It might be that I should use. Yeah, I should use a space as well. So this is also possible. Actually, I'm still wondering. Besides exceptions, there's not a single case when I navigate this way, to be honest. And for exceptions, and this is difficult to show. I will try to remember for later. For the exception navigation, I will show you something different a bit later. But now back to navigation. Yeah, shortcuts to go back and forth. Again, here you can filter those result sets when you invoke the actions. And again, this is just I don't want to make you keep note of different shortcuts. So that's why I won't name them, but I will at least give you the action that I invoked. So in this case, derived types, or no, base types actually. It's base symbols in this case. And you can just search from there. Also interesting here, immediate base types are always written in bold text, which is kind of nice information, I think. Okay, besides that, I think most of the stuff we had. Oh yeah, actually, I'm not sure, do I have it open? This is just one quick motivation for this feature. I mean, with an inheritance chain of just 2 items, okay, it makes no sense to filter the result set or something. But let's say, and I think there's lambda expression, right? Lambda expression, if I can type, yeah. And let's look at this, because this is usually a good example. So for instance, when you show all the derived types from expression and you're looking for something specific, this is the kind of inheritance type hierarchy where this feature really makes sense. And from there you can, sometimes it's not obvious how member expression is called if you're jumping between different SDKs, for instance. But yeah, types with large type hierarchies, for those, it really makes sense. besides that, I think most of the stuff I mentioned. Also for decompilation, yeah, maybe one more thing. For decompilation, that also always allows you to debug into symbols that you don't have. So even if let's say it's a NuGet package, even if the NuGet package, or particularly when a NuGet package doesn't have, how's it called? I always confuse the name, source link. So when they're providing their sources for the NuGet package, when they don't do that, even then you will be able to decompile and step into external code, which is really helpful, you know, if you're trying to discover, or you're certain, like many users always are, you know, the fault is always at the libraries that you're using. But yeah, if you want to validate, that's a way you can go. For instance, yeah, it doesn't make much sense to dive into an exception and set a breakpoint there. But yeah, you can, this is really all you do. You go there, select, add a breakpoint, and that's it. Yeah. Okay, so far for navigation. I see even, well, one more thing about navigation. This is, I personally, I only have tabs enabled because I took some screenshots for our upcoming release. But usually I have those completely disabled. So I always use none here to hide them, because having tabs over there always makes you use the mouse. I mean, it's more like an invitation to, come on, hey, use the mouse, instead of you just keeping your fingers at the keyboard and doing everything from there. And, you know, save those minutes where you, happened to me just yesterday when I tried to grab my mouse and just threw it off the table. Might also happen today. But yeah. So I want to go to editing, maybe. Let's go to editing. And there are some things, there's actually, yeah, there are some really, really cool features there that unfortunately not so many people know. So even the ones that I know use Writer and ReSharper on a daily basis, even they sometimes don't know about these. And for me personally, it's the best thing, since Americans always say sliced bread, right? So I had an American thought right now, but yeah, for me it really is about saving these moments where you okay, I should get to the thing. I want to show you something about selection, because just yesterday, and I'm diving a bit more into Azure Functions and watching a bunch of screencasts when people do this. And you know, this is not to say I also sometimes look stupid when I do things because many people are watching, you know. But this is something that is also representative for how many people work, or that they don't know it. What I'm specifically talking about is when you want to select certain parts in your code. So for instance, I'm personally, you can disagree, of course, but I'm sure there will be a case when you want to refactor something like this. So I have for each statement, this is definitely not friendly for debugging. This is, I think, one thing we can agree on, because yeah, you can't inspect the collection before it's iterated, and even while it is iterated, you can't check where you are, etc. So what I want to do is refactor this whole thing. And well, one very big improvement compared to you know, just clicking and dragging is double click, and then this is something that most applications have, I think. So to have selection for the full token. But what's even better is the extend shrink selection action, because with that, so there's one-time extend and one-time shrink. So for me, it's just adding a shift key, and that allows me to go back and forth structurally selecting my code. Yeah, so it starts with numbers. So if I'm here in the middle, numbers, then to the next invocation expression, including the invoked expression, and then further until some point I have the full for each statement selected. Then I can go to the method body, method, class body, class, namespace, etc. until I'm at Control A, basically. Yeah, but I can also go back. So here I'm just going back to the, basically to the, oh no, going back to the, come on, going back to the origin. But with this shortcut, what you can do is easily refactor your code. So for instance, I could say, okay, let me extract this full expression here. So I could introduce a variable and just say, let's say numbers 2, because I already have a numbers collection. Meanwhile I'm doing this, I could also go back and say, okay, let's first extract here even numbers and stuff like that. Yeah. So this makes things very, very easy to refactor. And by the way, this is just one way for introducing variables. We will also see a different approach. One more thing though is also with that, what you also can do is use just the tab key, which is sometimes a bit faster because it selects. Yeah, I can't really pinpoint it. How it behaves differently. It's something for you to try. So whenever you have your caret somewhere in the code, hit tab and you will see what it selects, and then you can further press tab and you see you just structurally visit basically the whole syntax tree. Okay. A second thing, and this is actually something where this expand shrink selection is very helpful with. What example should I take? Multi-caret. So first of all, multi-caret, I want to show you a different example. So let's say we're modifying our solution file, and in this case, okay, this solution file is small, but it will be just one example. So this is this very hard to parse section in the solution file, where you always forget, okay, what does it belong to? Yeah, and just recently, what I tried to do was removing a project from the solution file manually, because it wasn't loaded. Otherwise, I could also just remove from here. But I wanted it to do from the editor right here. And the best thing you can do in these cases. Give me just one moment. Yeah. The best thing you can do in these cases is, if you're looking for how's it called? GUID like this here, you can go there and say, okay, I want to select all the occurrences. So you saw I select a bunch of them. So it's always select next occurrence. I can also go back, and now I lost my caret here. But I can also, of course, it's called select, I think next occurrence, or add selection for next occurrence. Yeah, exactly this one. But there's also select all occurrences. So for me, the shortcut is actually a bit different. It shows two shortcuts in this case, actually. And from then I have multiple carets, and then I could, for instance, select the whole line for each of those, remove them, and once more, and then I'm done. Yeah, and this is a feature. What I forgot is, of course, removing this. But now I broke my solution. But this is a feature that comes in very handy in all kinds of scenarios. Yeah. I can't even, I mean, if you're editing YAML files, for instance, and you want to rename a certain identifier, like for GitHub Actions or something, this is something that you want to use instead of, the usual way, what most people actually do. Go to find, and then, what is it? Replace in files, or just replace. This is cumbersome. I mean, it also works, but this is more code focused. And with that, I will give you one example. It's just a mind experiment, basically. Let's go back to our, I forgot something very important about navigation. I will try to remember. But let's say, just as a mind experiment, we have binding flags. Binding flags has a bunch of, is an enumeration, has a bunch of members here. And let's say we just want to turn these members into Boolean private fields, yeah, just for the sake of trying. So this is where this select next occurrence really comes in handy, because this is what I do. Then let's go back a couple of positions, and from here I can use this expand selection feature again. Just copy that, and then I go back here, and this was just for me to note what I want to do. But now I have all these right here. Now let me use my caret again, indent a bit, read only, and now the usual, let's say this is a bool. And now the usual naming pattern, of course, is to make these lowercase. This is also something you can do. So make a selection, and then I think it's called toggle case. Toggle case also has shortcut, and that's it. This is how quickly, or a very unusual case, I would say, but just one of the many cases where this can really help. Okay, postfix templates, yeah, those are my favorites actually. And kudos actually to the developer Alexander Shvedov, working in our team, who I think actually invented this kind of feature. So yeah, what are postfix templates? I guess the usual templates that many of you might know is the for each template, for instance, or there are a bunch of others. What I use regularly is just CV. Let's do this again. So CV, and you see this little icon here. This represents a template. Here you see what it completes to. So yeah, we can just use templates for that. But in this case, again, it's a more of an abstract example. But let's assume in this method, what I want to do is create a string builder variable, let's say, just for the sake of it. And maybe the conventional way of doing things would be to write, var, then builder, then you write a new string builder. By the way, here also initial letter completion, yeah. And then we can complete the statement. Actually, maybe if you noticed, this is a quality of life feature. Whenever you're inside braces and you hit the semicolon, it will complete to the end. Actually, there's actually also another way, which I will show you afterwards. But yeah, this is the usual way how we can initialize a string builder. Now I show you the postfix template way. So with that, what I start from is just by typing SB for string builder. Now let's go one down, complete that to string builder. And from here, I just type .var. Yeah. This looks like a static method invocation on first sight, but as soon as I hit enter or tab.
Matthias.
Yes.
One quick question. Yes. On the brackets, after on the public enumerable, there is like a like a bit of red under it. Does it mean, yeah? Do you see that?
Yes.
It means that there is an issue, or?
Yeah, because this method returns enumerable and I'm not yet returning.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
So yeah, once we complete that, this will be gone. But otherwise, we can just complete var here. I'm not sure why it's suggesting this, but let's go with a second. And this is how I initialize the string builder. So let's do this again. So string builder var complete, boom. Yeah, that's it. Finished. No typos, because you also get the suggestions for naming. based on the type that you're initializing and all that. So yeah, I think this is great. And just to show you that one a bit more in action, let's assume we want to return only the even numbers from the past in numbers in this method. So with Postfix templates, you start with the context basically. So and it's also it's a bit like Yoda speak. Yeah. So we start with numbers. We just write numbers, and from there I wanna for each. Yeah. So there's a Postfix template, complete number. You see all nicely named already. Then the next thing we do is checking whether number is even. Yeah. So let's write a Boolean expression, and from here I can say, okay, if makes an if statement, and from here, okay, that was the wrong way, but from here we can just say number.yield. Yeah, and in the end, just complete to a link statement. So yeah, but I guess you get the idea what this is about. And I must say, unfortunately, there's no settings page which lists all the different Postfix templates. There is one for JavaScript and TypeScript, but not for C#, unfortunately. But if you Google for it, you will see the full list. So this also works, for instance, with, let's say, so to throw an exception, let's say new, and now throw. Okay, this yeah, I should have gone outside. Throw. So this is how you could do it. Yeah, not to say you should, but in many cases this can be beneficial of for naming things. Initializing a variable is also one of my favorites for that. And yeah. Live templates. For live templates, just quickly, we already had this for each statement that you can use. So again, so this here, yeah. So in this case, I don't have a collection. That's why it doesn't know what to use. But there are several others, and those ones you can actually browse. So from, again, this is also, we should actually use search for, and not just browse through the whole thing, not knowing where to go, which happens to me as well. But yeah, let's say for live templates, you can also go there and see all the different C# live templates which are available. So plenty of. One thing that you won't ever learn just by looking at this dialog, and I'm not even sure if it's included in any docs, but we definitely had a blog post around it, is when you select things, like let's say, and again, this is also something where you can use this expand selection. I think even, let me try something. I think even if you separate different blocks from each other, it will also select those blocks for you, right? So which is also very comfortable. But having this, what you actually can do is start to type to use a live template. So, and what I did here was, first, what I did was basically overriding what I had written already. Now, when I complete, it uses that previous overwritten code to put it in the try block, and you're at the catch block, and just can complete this whole thing. And this also works. We could also use while, for instance. Yeah. So this is a very quick way of doing things. Instead of the usual way, would be, I think it's insert live template. Yeah, exactly. Oh, damn it. Okay, this is actually a surround template. So this is a neat little different. How do you call it? Difference, let's just say difference. That is not really important, but yeah, there are certain surround templates which you can choose from. What else? Let me think. For live templates, I think this is it. One more thing is language injection is great, but I think I want to show you that in a different project, because this actually has a database setup. So let's say let's say, and I first want to show you the feature in a different context. So regular expressions, everyone hates them. Everyone has to write them at a certain point. I'm not familiar, at least I'm not familiar with them very well. But what certainly helps is if you, and this is, this is just an ordinary, let's start with an ordinary string. And let's say you want to write let's say you want to write a regular expression. So of course, I don't remember what are the character classes again and stuff like that, Actually, let's make this verbatim also. So to help you with that, what you can do is hitting Alt Enter and then choose Mark as injected language. So here, choose regular expression. And then once you do the backslash, you have completion for all the different things. So character classes, for instance, it will also help you a bit with syntax highlighting. It also captures groups, which is very cool. I'm not sure where I have that, but because I forgot how to write groups, I think it's. Will I manage that? I don't remember. This is still something that you have to look up probably. So now, what I want to say is, you can also use these capture groups, right, to retrieve something from the matched string. And what it actually will do is also if you have a regex match, is it just match? Yes. If you have a regex match and you're using that groups, etc., then you will also have completion inside here for those groups that you defined earlier, which is also very handy. But yeah, back to language injections, because I was briefly talking about databases, so this is one of the great things. One of the great things about Rider, what I mentioned with being based on IntelliJ. Not just IntelliJ comes with it, but also our database tool, which is DataGrip. And this is just beyond insanity. I don't work with databases very often, but this makes it really easy to integrate with your database and also work with it. So for instance, you can then just, in this case, it's an Azure SQL database. You can fully browse that. You can actually also look at the content if it's connected. You can look at the content here. Okay, password. I think, yeah, I got a new internet connection and they reset my connection. Now my private endpoint that I entered is no longer valid. So yeah, but usually you could, browse those and do many other things. So also manipulate and generate new tables and stuff like that. So many things. But what I want to share with you about language injections is this nice thing here. So select from, and now I have completion. Yeah. So this is a SQL select statement. I think you say statement. And you see I have my tables here for completion like this. Now using star is a bit, well, not exactly considered best practice, I would say. You can also expand the list here. So now it just expands the list and you can remove those that you don't want. It will also help you with automatically joining. I don't write this very often, but it's, I forgot how to do joins in SQL. But once you do this, you can actually join with another table and then, yeah, here, there it was. You see, I know nothing about SQL, but you can actually do the full join statement very easily and how it's actually written and stuff like that. So yeah, my qualities as a SQL statement author. But yeah, let's go back here. Yeah, one thing I forgot earlier was the complete statement shortcut. This is something very small, I would say, but if you're writing an if statement in this way, you just happen to write it like this. You have the caret here. what you can do is complete current statement with this shortcut. And then what it does, completes the braces for you and puts the caret in the middle. And this works from very different places, actually, because for instance, also if we write a new method, let's say method n, and then we go back and yeah, I'm just repeating here, but let's say we also make this generic. I'm using this very same shortcut again, and boom. I'm writing, let's say, console write line, and just something, again, my caret is somewhere I can complete, puts the semicolon there and the caret on the next line. One thing I forgot about navigation earlier. I'm not sure how I could do such a terrible thing. They're actually named here. Is go to recent locations and files and edits. And this is also this tackles the same argument what I had about tabs. Tabs make you point and search in a very, or rather, at least rather inefficient way in the bar, because it's not exactly properly sorted. Then again, there's also what you will see in many applications, Control Tab. So you can tab through and then switch to a file, right? This is almost the way to do it in Rider. And by the way, also in ReSharper. But Rider has, and ReSharper also has the shortcut, which is called recent files. So recent files does this. And I can actually also do this from the keyboard, of course. But what you will notice, hands-free. Yeah. So this will stay open. It's roughly the same view as the Control Tab, but this will stay open. And again, you can start typing to search what you're looking for. You can even remove entries from here, of course, to close them. You can also search something from the left-hand side, which are all the tool windows. And more importantly, this is very cool as well. If you hit the shortcut again, you will also shrink down the result set to those files that have recently been edited. So this is very, very cool because, especially working on large solutions, what you often do is writing something, going somewhere else, checking how things work, just navigating around, reading code. And then you want to go back to the place where you were actually writing code. And this is one of the shortcuts that helps with that. So you also have the different coloring, of course. So we can see some parts are hidden after I hit and this is, by the way, the check mark here, which was added. But yeah, and then we can just go there. And also on the left-hand side, you see where changes have happened. And also there's, if you want a more direct way, there's this shortcut here, or this action, last edit location, which does only one thing, which is going back to the last edit location. Yeah, you can think of it as, let's go back here where we have the new toolbar, but you could think of it as something like this back button, but only for the things that have changed. Okay. Now that I look at it, live templates, there's one very specific live template even. Let's say we have a class person. Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't fully looked at how or when to use records, but I will still give you this one example. So first of all, see, I did it wrong. The property template, so I can use first name here, for instance. And now let's say I have a bunch of them, last name and city. Yeah, let's say I have a bunch of them, I want to initialize them. Then there's a ctor p template, which initializes all the different properties for you. An alternative way, because this is, IDEs are essentially about providing each and everyone's own workflow. So this might not be your workflow. Maybe for some reason, and that's actually the person I am, maybe you create your constructor in the process of thinking, you just go there and you do it naturally, but then you realize, okay, I should have used the template maybe, but I still want to inject all the or you don't write the properties here, but you write them here, so then you start, this is the way I do it. So last name and string city, and then from here you can actually say, okay, where is it? Here. Introduce get only auto property for all unused parameters. Yeah. And you even have a couple of more settings that you could use. But yeah, we will go with this much faster. Yeah. So yeah, this is just to underline different workflows. We usually support all of them. Yeah. And when you have one that is not supported, let us know. But generally, this is what IDEs should be doing, right? Okay. What else could we look at? Okay, this was one of the very easy things. This is something I usually start with, basic completion and stuff like that. So to import something, or even we don't have extension methods yet important. Still, they will be shown and they will be automatically added to the namespace, because yeah, you just want these extension methods. One thing that is very interesting though is this one. So no completion, right? I can create the type, which is a feature for rapid prototyping, which is cool, I think, particularly because it also takes into account how you use that type. So for instance, also if you have disposable A, for instance, and you say A, then I think at least it's automatically disposable based on the context. Yeah, but this is just a small thing. But what I want to show you here is obviously this is a test attribute for n unit, right? And this frequently happens. Like last time, what did I do? I was trying to set up a basic signal R example, and I didn't know what NuGet package to use. Yeah, but I had it was not written in the documentation, or I was just blind. Both could be the case. But I didn't know where it's coming from. I had the full snippet, didn't know where it's coming from. So what you can do here is still Alt-Enter the whole thing, and then find this type of NuGet.org. And this will talk to a web service that we have running, basically, and check, okay, which of the many NuGet packages has this particular type available. And well, NUnit first hit, and then you just go there and say, okay, install, and that's it. Okay, thanks, David, for taking part. And yeah, and then just import again and relearn. And this example, yeah, because for me it's really essential. It's an abstract example, but I think it makes the point very, very clearly. When we write code, we end up with something that is not always the easiest to understand. Yeah, it may make sense from the point when we're putting it to, well, not paper, but down, basically. But it might not be the optimal for later reading the code. And this is one very good example, like when you have negation in front of it, and then okay, not a single one should have this, right? And then again, negation on the inside. So first, what we can do replace this, to eliminate basically the negation outside and inside, to replace that, and afterwards we can go here, and actually you see that, you see this, how I manually went down there. There's actually also a shortcut for that, but currently it only takes warnings into account. I mean, because warnings is the highest severity currently. But otherwise, you can just, you know, go to the next issue with that shortcut. I could actually. No, I don't want to change the namespace. Anyway, and then later go here and replace with method group. And I'm sure this is something everyone agrees is much easier to read than what we had previously. And this happens on a daily basis. To make code look good, it's not or let's say code is not always immediately good. Yeah, it takes quite some time to make it look good. Unfortunately, I wish it was different, but yeah. Analysis. So for analysis, one of the things I want to show you, which is very important, and I know this still says C#8, and I know it's C#10. I didn't sleep, but still these things are relevant. Just as an example, so when in C#8 they introduced index from end expression, which you see here is highlighted. Let's see, you can actually trigger this and to see what it's saying. Also, it's written down here. Also here on the right-hand side, yeah, this one, and here by the way is also the place where you can. It's still jumping between warnings, unfortunately. But yeah, let's go back here. When we want to introduce C#8 features to an existing code base, then of course I don't want to go through my whole code base and, you know, always manually say, here, please use the index from end expression. That's not very efficient, yeah. But what you can do is Alt Enter and then go to the right, and many of the quick fixes that are available, not all, definitely, well, I'm sure it's not all, but many of those have the option to be executed in bulk. So for instance, we could execute this on the whole solution or project or folder file in the method, etc. So this is something I can do here. Let's remove this for a moment. Okay, but now this is something I wanted to show you. Now you see you can just go through your issues here to the remaining ones and then just fix them. So in this case, for instance, to convert to using declaration in the whole method, let's do this. Also, you know, using async, for instance, using await using in the whole method. So this is a way how to introduce new C# language features rather quickly. And also, I mean, this is okay. Here it's not available because it's an old project. But let's go back here. Then, for instance, with this one, to file scope namespaces, which is already available in the EAP build, you can also just apply this for the whole solution. Sit back. In your Git blame, at least on GitHub, it will look like you wrote basically everything. But I can tell you, VCS integration in Rider will, well, what it does is calling git blame with a slash /w to ignore white space changes. Yeah. So their git blame will still work, but yeah, on GitHub, I think they don't have this. So it will look like you wrote everything. So make sure to apply this change to your solution. But yeah, anyway, let's go back here. So yeah, those were just a couple of things. Two plugins I wanna show you. Two plugins I really love. One of which I'm the author. I implemented it, but the original idea is of course not mine. But I will start with the heap allocation viewer, because in today's times, let's say, allocation-free code and or performant code becomes more and more important. Yeah, particularly when you know, just recently, what was it? Google found out a small thing, how they could improve things, and that meant several thousands of dollars that they could save per month. Yeah, you know, it depends on how you use things, but generally performant code was always in favor. But yeah, today even a bit more, I would say. But let's go back to plugins. There are two plugins which I think can help with that. And the first even more than the second. The first is heap allocation viewer. This one, also by the same person who brought you Postfix templates, Sasha Shvedov. And the second one is written by me, Cognitive Complexity. And again, here also you have the link to the white paper discussing the whole thing. But yeah, why I showed you is just from here you can also install the many plugins that are available. But yeah, let's go back to heap allocation. What this plugin does is to underline your code to make you aware where allocations are happening. So these things here, those are not inspections, but they are to make you aware that in this case, there's a possible object allocation, yeah, for an enumerator. Here in this case, not, for instance. Here in this case, we have a delegate allocation, a method group. This one has a, what does it have? I think it's capturing, yeah, this reference. Let's bring this up again. This reference. The next one even has something more, which is a closure. The string or str variable is captured. In this case, we have boxing. Yeah, many things that will make you aware of where allocation happens. And this is, of course, I mean, this disclaimer here, never take this too serious. But once you know that a certain method is an issue, and you come here and you can immediately see where allocations are happening, this can be very helpful. And one thing I personally never tried out, because for me performance is I'm working in the field where performance is not really important, let's say, with my open source project. But what I can definitely recommend to you is, if you do, I mean, if your code is performance critical, then try out this little rectangle here, dynamic program analysis, because what this is doing, once you run your code, it will collect some information about that, and also let you know when a certain place in your code is causing a lot of allocations, which are immediately freed, for instance. And this is a very, 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 very cool tool to use. I mean, once I tried it in action with a how's it called, Game of Life example. If you're interested, I can also share the link later. But yeah, it comes in very, very smart, let's say, without having to do anything, then turning it on, it will just tell you about where potential issues are. And the second one, okay, this is more about readable code, probably not about performance. I was a bit wrong with that. But cognitive complexity. Many of you will probably know the cyclomatic complexity. I always forget the name. me search. The browser there. So someone will write it, I'm sure. Last time someone wrote it. But yeah, many of you will know cyclomatic complexity, which basically counts the number of branches in your code. But being honest, we also have a cyclomatic complexity plugin, which basically shows you the complexity. But this is often misleading because these two methods here, this one and this one, they have the same amount of for each statements, but they would end up with they have the same amount of for each statements, same number of branches basically, same value for cyclomatic complexity, but definitely not as easy to understand on the same level, basically. I guess everyone agrees nested for each statements are far more difficult to understand than sequential ones. And this is what cognitive complexity takes into account. Originally they invented it at SonarSource, I think. No, I'm definitely sure. And what this plugin does is just putting this nice little, code vision item above the method, from where you can also search for, when some changes were applied and stuff like that. And by clicking it, even you can see where the hotspots are. So in this case, you see this most inner for each statement has the highest impact because it has the highest nesting. Whereas here, all the same, pretty much. And also, this is, I'm particularly proud of that. So once you reach a certain limit, it will also, cry for help, basically. Okay. By the way, I can ask one question. Maybe, do you have a limit how long I should talk? Otherwise, I would target approximately 50 more minutes or something.
No, go ahead. That's absolutely no problem if you want to take a bit more. I think, on my opinion, it's worth it. So go ahead. Sounds
good. So yeah, I will try because there's a lot. Actually, what I should do when I submit for meetups, I should ask for several meetings, having part 1, 2, and maybe even 3. But yeah, there's so much to show. Yeah.
Just to set some expectations, we usually have talks from 1 hour up to 1 hour and a half, and sometimes 2. More than that, okay. It's a bit of the limit. Also, this talk, a lot of people are in Switzerland, so they probably are starting to get hungry now. So I would say
me too.
By 8 would be a good thing, right? But I think we can be until 8 perfectly fine. Make sense?
I just took some sugar, yeah, because I also feel I'm quite hungry. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Okay, but yeah, I have what I want to say is Rider is a beast in terms of what it supports. There's so much ranging from Unity. I'm not showing you Unity today. But if you use this, for instance, or you're hobbyist about Unity, also comes with Unity support. Okay, database today, I showed a bunch of it, but otherwise also, if we have Azure functions, so which function could I actually show? Like this, for instance. So there are so many parts where you have nice little features integrated. It's really hard to put them all together into 2 hours. It's impossible to do that, yeah. But just what I want to say by this is, if something is missing and you really like for something to be shown, then this is also your time to let me know. Otherwise, I would just go through my program of all the things what I think are worth knowing, which are more general features, let's say. But okay, what else can I show? For refactorings, I think it's clear. I mean, ReSharper is very strong with refactoring, so those are included as well. Generation is also not the most exciting thing. Nullable here, my nullable example is actually one of the places where this shortcut, which next error, where this shortcut works nicely, because let's see, when I still haven't converted my solution actually to nullable types, but once I use these shortcuts, I can actually always go to the next one and then hit Alt Enter and make a decision. Yeah, like in this case, change the property type. Then let's go on. In this case, okay, initialize from, yeah, okay, let's do this. But here, add missing argument name last name. Okay, this is my code style setting. So in this case, I really want the argument name, etc., and just go through and fix all the things. Yeah. So this is very convenient, I would say. One thing, yeah, let me open my open source project, because there are some things that are easier to show there. By the way, okay, you see a couple of warnings popping up, of course. This is because I have those enabled. You shouldn't see this. But what you should see is that this is already responsive. I mean, I can type. It doesn't have fully loaded the full semantic model. This you can tell from, Nyan Cat down here. And you can also tell this from the fact that there's no syntax highlighting or something. But once this is done, this will turn to color, and this will turn to color, and then you can use all the other navigation features besides files. Yeah. Okay, let's wait a little more, because this project is pretty big. I mean, it has a lot of generated code, so it takes a while. And during streaming always knocks down the whole computer. And maybe I even changed. It looks like I even changed the .NET Core SDK. In the meantime. Okay, but what did I want? Ah, yeah, VCS support. VCS support is great. This down here is our VCS support. And in this particular case, I even have multiple repositories sitting in the same solution. Yeah, you can see those are the different repositories. You can also browse them from here. No, this is not it. Okay, there may be, I don't know, usually you should see the repositories here. I don't know what happened. But otherwise we can, of course, also collapse that. And otherwise we can just search from here. And this is very, very fast because it's indexed. So you see, once I hit enter, basically the result is already there. Although there are a couple of there are quite a lot of commits. I mean, in this project particularly not. It's just 2,500 or something. But even executed on our ReSharper solution, which has, I think, 500,000 commits, it works similarly fast. Yeah, and also you have stuff like selecting if you want to search for someone particular for a committer, you can do it like this and like that. I found all the commits from Rodney, for instance. Other thing about about VCS, and it's just here. I already mentioned it's the VCS operations, and this is great to have at a glance what has happened or what you want to do with a file regarding VCS, or what has happened, or to insert save points and stuff like that. Save points is a good good keyword because sometimes I want to set the stage a bit. Sometimes when you work on something like a bug, you try to fix a bug and you try it a certain way, and then you realize, okay, this is not it. I want to go back. Okay, of course you can do revert in this case, but let's say then you realize, okay, this was actually the right approach, and I actually broke my undo stack or something, but you just want to have it back and you didn't create a commit. So this is something where show history can actually help. So show history is an action or is a feature which keeps track of your changes even without you doing anything for it. Yeah. So for instance, okay, identical. So okay, in this case, it was really adding the full thing. We can let's try a different file. Let's try this one. Show local history. So in this case, even without me committing, you see there are a bunch of changes. I could just go back and say, okay, I want to have this or that back. For instance, this I can revert to bring this back and stuff like that. And on the right-hand side here, you also see these little labels. These are partially created automatically, like when you're doing, like when you're like applying a patch, for instance, or when you do refactorings. I think also when you commit, particularly, and you can also insert those manually. Like for instance here, put label, give it a label, and this won't be a VCS commit really, but it will be there for you to use it as a save point once it's necessary. Okay, what else? I can actually, let me open my other example here. New window. And I just want to remind you, when you have questions, please ask.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
About that, those kind of save points. Let's say I'm making changes in the file. I'm not committing. Is Rider deciding these kind of intermediate save points? Or do I have to?
Well, this is why I mentioned this put label, because the put label is an intentional moment when you can do this, because then it will really create one of those save points. Otherwise, it will do this, let's say, heuristically. Yeah. When it notices you're typing a lot, of course, it's not for every letter that you're going to type, but it will be, for instance, it's not for sure, but this is just how I notice it works. For instance, when you switch the file. Yeah.
So like you could be playing Half-Life and then it's automatically saving for you as you go along, yes. Or you actually decide to save that point. So put label is like saving that state. Is it just for that file or for all files?
You can actually. That's a very good question. You can actually also do this for a whole folder. So, for instance, when you want to bring back a whole bunch of files, like in this case, you see those are put together to a single save point, from which you can then also go there and revert those two files in one go.
But I can useful. It's like a meta git somehow.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one time I implemented very large feature. It was pretty new. It was not a lot of it was not changing a lot of old files, but it was just adding new files. Yeah, and then I did a horrible mistake, or at least it could have been horrible, because I was checking out.
It's clean, huh?
Yes, exactly. I checked out a different branch, and it told me, okay, or I was rebasing or anything. But in the end, all my changes were gone. Yeah, but they were still there with the local history, because
Nice.
everything below the solution file will be tracked. Yeah, and this is a very cool thing, I think.
Damn, that's going to be useful. I have to remember that. I've done a few things like that and thought, shit, now I've got to rewrite all this crap.
Yeah. I will say this is one feature that you don't need often. Definitely not. Yeah, but it's very high up my ladder of features that are so important once you need them.
Lifesavers, kind of.
Yeah.
Or time savers if you make an accidental mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thanks for that. That's nice.
Sure. Besides that, well, where did we start? Local history, VCS integration. What else can I show you? I run a bit out of ideas. Debugger. Yeah, debugger is a whole topic for itself, actually. But we can try. For once, what I can show you, for instance, is no, where is it? This one here. Yeah, I know it's not what I wanted. This one also not. What I wanted to show you is that it will allow you to choose where to put the breakpoint, but for some reason, anyway, let's debug this whole thing. So first of all, for running unit tests, you know, the most important, particularly if you follow TDD very strictly, the one shortcut that you really want to learn is rerun, repeat previous run. This one. So in my case, Command U and U one more time. This will execute exactly the last session that you did, even if you're not in the unit test class. So from here, I can hit the shortcut executes unit tests. And otherwise, if you put your bracket, your caret somewhere, like in this case, it would we can choose to run, of course, run unit tests. Where is it? Run tests, run selected tests. It's UR, I know. Yeah, one of these. By the way, this is also a funny thing. If you know a shortcut for something, and but you want to know the action, this is where you go. So UR second keystroke. Okay, come on. U second keystroke. Okay, this is a bit unintuitive. Run unit tests. Okay, yeah. But your caret basically says what the run unit test means. So in this case, it would, putting it here would execute all the tests from the namespace. In this case, only from the class. In this case, only the one test you're currently in. And you can also debug, of course, with Control UD then. But yeah, speaking about the debugger. I debugged the wrong one. I want to debug this actually. So let's do this again, but in this case, let's pick the other one. And yeah, debugger is a bit slow right now because, you know, I have 4 solutions open. This is noticeable, definitely. But this is one example what I meant, which works similarly with breakpoints, because we are with our how I want to call it, execution pointer on this statement. So first of all, what I want to show you is you can use this expand string selection feature here to, oh no, it doesn't work with local functions, I suppose, or there's some other issue, I don't know. But usually what you can do is just, you know, selecting things and then it will give you the result of that selection. Maybe just quickly, you know, write one example. So let's say 1 equals 4, of course, it should be false, but just to briefly show you that. I'm not sure why it doesn't work right now. As far as I know, local functions should also work with that. Okay, let's try one more time here. No, it doesn't. Okay, but here, so let's, come on, give me a false. Oh no. Okay, now it does, but usually it will just show tooltips. You know, I'm using this feature on a daily basis actually. But yeah, different solution doesn't work. Scandal. Okay, but one other thing about this here: print people, filter people, get people. So that there are a lot of nested expressions and execution points basically. Let's assume while we debug, we want to go immediately into the print people method. So then we can just use step into. What it actually does is to allow you to switch into what method you want to go. You know, to save that extra time from step into, step out, step into, step out, step into. That would be when we're there, or putting a breakpoint there just for the purpose of, you know, going back and hitting resume or something. So this is helpful. And yeah, maybe I forgot, but just 3 very simple methods here. Get people gets us an array, filter people filters by length of the person's name, and print people just does a for each on our people that we pass, and then console write line. So very easy actually. Now let's give that one example. Again, it's an abstract one, but I can give you an example in a real world. A game. If you develop a game, then you have this one method which gets called very frequently per frame, usually called update. And then you have other event methods, like for instance, when you hit a block in a game. And those methods will do something that then the update method will handle in some way. And so what you want to do is you want to debug that update method, but only in the context when some other method was executed before, right? And this is something I want to kind of simulate here. So let's say print people is our method that is frequently called, but let's say we want to debug this print person method here only when we're seeing Martin is passed, for instance. Well, no, let me rephrase that. We only want to debug that in the context of the second print people call. So that's the right way. Sorry. So we put breakpoints on both of them because this is where we want to stop, and this is a breakpoint that we want to track basically. So once this method has been executed, and what we can do is, first of all, we go here to this breakpoint and say, okay, this should not be suspending. It will turn yellow in this case. And for the other one, we can go there and say this is a dependent, or this has a dependent breakpoint. So disable this breakpoint until another breakpoint is hit, like print people, for instance. Yeah, so we can see this is the dependent breakpoint. And once I do this, now when I debug again, we should start with Khalid as the person, and not with, you know, the first invocation would be Tim. So it should not be Tim, but it should be Khalid. So let's take a look. So there you see Khalid. Yeah, it's a bit hidden because of my small screen or resolution. But otherwise you can see Khalid is there. And from there, yeah, basic stuff we can do. Actually, you see now I'm actually going into the external code. You can actually also debug that. And yeah, what else can I show you? I think this is, I said 50 minutes, I'm close to it. I think this is it. I would say if anyone has any more questions.
There is a question from Mark. It says, it is planned to support Service Fabric project SFProj with locally deploy and debug to a local Service Fabric cluster.
This question is too specific for me. I would like to ask you. You can oh, my video stopped. You can you can write me a message, either mail or on Twitter or something, and I can check. But offhand, I read the name Service Fabric once. That's all I can tell. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's even on my slides. Let's see. Yeah, you can write me on Twitter or through mail, and I can check, but I don't know offhand. And now I also see the question. Yeah, Service Fabric. Yeah, I don't know what this whole thing does, to be honest. Okay, but yeah, any more questions? Then please let me know. And I would say thanks for watching. For me personally, it gets very repetitive. You know, I almost feel like I bore people.
Just yourself, huh? Just bore yourself.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I hope this was helpful to you, and you kind of got a sense of how we think IDEs should work. Actually, what I can really recommend you on the topic is there's this podcast, The Unhandled Exceptions, or Unhandled Exception, singular. And Dan had two of my colleagues as guests, which is first Kirill and Martin. And particularly with Kirill, you really notice his idea of an IDE, and he also talks when he joined JetBrains, which was that he also used the mouse more than he should have been, and then one of the colleagues of him back then said, "Oh no, all wrong! You know, just use your keyboard and do this, and that, and it looks like magic." So yeah, this is kind of our goal here, to make things more approachable, more productive, and keep you focused basically with your thoughts, without being distracted by minor things like, oh, this selection is wrong, or oh, I had this little typo here and there. You know, with with typos, actually, I can also I didn't, but I can give you the example, like when you. I'm actually not sure if it works in while completing, but for instance here, console, you see it's clear that someone is using for is searching for console. Will just show that. Yeah. Same is, I think I type null wrong sometimes, like in this case, I forgot the U, or I type return wrong. Yeah, it will do these things automatically without annoying you. So these are those small, again, quality of life features that are just great, and there's a lot of them.
it's like the perfect tool for dyslexic people.
Yeah.
It's like you've explained stuff that I always ignore. You know, all this stuff that pops up, like because I spell things wrong, or the live templates. I just look at it and think, oh fuck, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to touch it. And you're just showing it to me. It's like, oh my god, that's actually quite useful. So I don't actually try it. I should just try it. It feels like I just don't have time to try it, even when I'm doing the code. But I may start trying to push a few more buttons when I'm doing this now to see what else I can find.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's often this how do you call it, creature of habit. You know, you don't take the time. I mean, what I can recommend, and it, you know, first off, this is my job to know this IDE inside out. Yeah, although I still can't. So Fabric, good example. But I take the majority of my time thinking about what workflows should be supported, or where are bugs, filing bugs, etc. Using it in action also with my own project. I take the time to actually think about these things. If you don't want, I can totally understand. One good advice that I can give is on Twitter. We often tweet out tips and stuff like that. And I think this is a good place to be, you know, a bit informed, at least. Or also on our blog, you don't even need to read the full blog post. Often it's just enough to give me a second. Often it's just enough to take a look at the pictures. And I wanna show you one more thing, which I also at one point just realized for myself that this is a great source of information. Let me see. What's here? Yeah, here. Okay, one second. Browser is still loading. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. This speak is definitely provoking me to press the button a bit more often. I mean, I'm more keyboard man anyway than the mouse for sure, but I still always have a slight movement to the mouse, you know. But this is good.
Yeah. So one thing I can really recommend is the What's New page for both ReSharper and Writer, and then just going through, because this is really an excerpt of what you can do. And you know, we write those texts. But I think in most cases, you just, you know, for me personally, you can just go through and take a look at, okay, what are the things that look new and stuff like that. And you can just play them and see, well, just be informed about how are things different between different versions. So, and this is also particularly ordered, yeah, by whatever you're using. So if you're interested in C# language support, for instance, then here merge patterns and all this stuff, yeah. So, and this particularly makes it very, very easy also to use new features, yeah. Like in this case, you really learn, okay, how is this pattern matching actually used? Or I have another example for you, or do I? Let me see. This is the wrong one. Let's use this one. So I have a console app here where I currently try out the new language features. Where is it? Where is it open already? Ah, yeah, it's on my other screen. Like here, for instance, when you're using lambda expressions and you also want to add a parameter, like in this case, and maybe naturally you write something like this, but this is wrong because parameter attribute should only be applied to the parameter. But then you say, okay, but this is the parameter, right? But actually, what it means, it's the Lambda declaration, or what is it called? Yeah, the Lambda parameter declaration. I mean, the whole signature. And then it tells you, okay, you should put braces there, or parentheses. So yeah, these are the two places that I can really recommend checking out. What's new, Twitter, and just also whenever you feel something is more complicated than you think it should be, then it's also a good time to ask someone of us. So not just me, also we have a whole advocacy team actually with Matt, so not me, but another Matt, Martin, Khalid, and Rachel. Matt has also been here last time when I gave a talk, right? I think
yep,
Matt,
he was,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
All righty. It was really, really good talk. I'm still hungry, though. And
me too. I'm smelling it already.
All right. I don't know if to propose. Usually we do a small pause and stay there. But if anybody has any question, now it's the moment. Otherwise, I will simply stop the stream. So I'm stopping it now. But before, thank you very much, Matthias. It was amazing talk for an amazing product. I really learned a few things I did not know about Rider, and I'm really considering about proposing.
That's amazing too.
It looks like that, really. It does what other tools that I will not mention do, and way more. And it's fast.
Yeah, thanks for your invitation, of course. Yeah, I mean, you are one of the. I have 3 people I'm looking forward to meet in Oslo, and this year. So you're one of them, actually. It will be first time meet, right? For
yes, it is a pity.
I mean, in real life,
it is a pity that Michael is not coming because we got to know each other because of him. But yeah, it will be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I'm stopping the